5 steps to buying property in Mauritius as a foreigner. I don't have to paint a global picture of what's going on in the world, but if you're worried about the Trump administration, Brexit, and the rise of populism in Europe, why not come live here? An island that's one of the 10 most peaceful countries in the world, with a stable political system, an African success story. It is one of New York Times' places where history is being made, and most importantly filled with very nice clever people of all ethnicities and belief systems. If you're not so concerned about finance or the state of politics, of course there's always the question, do you really want to spend another damp drizzly Northern Hemisphere summer or freezing winter? Jennifer Hurst, Mauritius Sotheby's international realty real estate consultant and manager for the South and West Coast, is here to help. Here's her breakdown on the ways to acquire property in 5 questions, 5 steps. 1. What kind of property am I buying, for whom and for what? The reason you're buying property in Mauritius, budget withstanding, will determine the property's use, and that in turn will guide the choice of location. The more time you spend in your apartment or villa, the higher the level of comfort, space and storage you'll need. If it's just for a few weeks per year, or you've purchased purely for investment reasons, so that your property will be rented out to holidaymakers, your priorities will be geared towards just how far away the property is from the beach, and little else. If you're relocating as a family, the proximity to school and pet-friendly places becomes more important than, say, the distance you have to walk to the golf course. If you're thinking of acquiring a second home to be used by family and friends several months a year over school holidays, for instance, you'd need a higher level of comfort than the investment apartment. You won't need to think so much about proximity to schools or big malls, and you would therefore focus on things like the size of your garden and of the property for privacy, space, views and settings, and proximity to the beach with plenty of outdoor activities to enjoy. 2. Do I need a residence permit? Another big question. Not everybody wants one. You'll want a residence permit if you plan on spending more consecutive months on the island than your tourist visa will allow, unless you're in the country under an investor or occupational permit or a retirement visa. For people who don't plan on using their residence for more than a month or 2, it isn't always necessary. To qualify for a residence permit through the purchase of a property, you need to purchase within a designated scheme, IRS, RES, PDS or SC, put in place by the government, and your property must cost a minimum of $500,000 USD plus taxes. If you don't need the permit, this opens up a few other options. The latter will probably be apartments in G+2 blocks, with a minimum buy-in of only $175,000 USD. All in all, quite a difference depending on your endgame. 3. Am I willing to go off-plan? In either of the above scenarios, you'll be able to either purchase an existing unit or to go off-plan. The off-plan route has numerous advantages, to name a few. 1. You'll have the chance on most developments to customize your interior to varying degrees, and not just the paint and furnishings, but certain structural aspects too. 2. More often than not, you'll get in at a far better price than if you had to buy an existing property. 3. Your payment is staggered over the construction period, usually around 18 months to 2 years. Buying a resale property also has its perks. You can walk through what you're buying, and of course you don't have to wait. 4. Who am I buying from? This should actually be top of the list, especially if you're going off-plan. Make sure the developer you're dealing with has a solid track record and puts up the necessary guarantees that make sure your investment is protected. The developer must deliver what you've signed up for. So, do your due diligence, and as with most things, the same rule of thumb applies. If it looks too good to be true. 5. Can I afford it? If you are limited by your budget or you aren't prepared to invest more than a certain amount into your property acquisition here, clearly you'll have to make some compromises. Location, villa or apartment, killer view or more space, and so on. On average, entry-level units are priced between $500,000 and $1.1 million USD. Middle of the range, you'll find 1.2 to 1.7 million. And of course, properties that are 1.8 million and up, which don't compromise very much at all. Okay, so you've visited a bunch of developments, found something that suits your lifestyle and your pocket. What next? You'll be happy to know that deciding where to buy was probably the hardest part. The rest is a piece of cake. If you're all set and raring to go, here are the 5 steps to acquiring property in Mauritius. First and foremost, you'll need to open an account with a local bank. Next, you'll have to sign a reservation contract for the unit. 3. Pay a deposit into a dedicated escrow account for the property. 4. In parallel, you'll submit your application for permission to acquire property either from the Board of Investment or directly from the Prime Minister's office, and submit all the relevant KYC documentation as stipulated. 5. Complete your acquisition by signing the deed of sale, et voilà! So if you want a white sand Christmas or just the ability to wake up, step outside and head for a nice morning swim before work, we'll see you soon.